Welcome to Moroccan in the Kitchen with Liz. I'm Liz Pridgon, and today I'll be making mujadara. This dish has lemonade lentils and rice with caramelized onions. I chose this Middle Eastern dish because it fulfills my dietary concerns of being gluten and meat-free while also having a variety of nutrients and having comforting and refreshing qualities. The most important step when beginning any recipe is to wash your hands, especially when you're handling ready-to-cook foods. The CDC recommends washing your hands for 20 seconds with warm soap and water. Don't forget to wash between your fingers, your thumbs, and underneath your fingernails. A good way to ensure that you wash for 20 seconds is to sing Happy Birthday twice. I'm going to begin this recipe by rehydrating raisins so they'll have lemon flavor. When cutting your lemon, it is important to stabilize your cutting board with a dish towel. I use a dish towel instead of paper towels because this is more economically friendly. Because when you use a paper towel, you will have to throw away that paper towel each time you use your cutting board. To infuse the raisins with a lemony flavor, I'm going to cut a lemon in half and juice one half of the lemon. I measured out half a cup of raisins, and now I'm going to pour the lemon juice on top. At this point, you will add a tablespoon of hot boiling water to ensure that the raisins start rehydrating. This will take about 40 minutes. Next, I'm going to start on my lentils. I cook my lentils in a pasta pot because it has a built-in strainer which allows me to easily drain the excess water. You should cook lentils until they're al dente. This means that they are not mushy or they are not undercooked. I add a cup of lentils and one teaspoon of salt to the pot, and I'll allow the lentils to cook for 7 minutes. While my lentils are cooking, I'm going to cut 2 medium onions. I prefer using a yellow medium onion because they have a neutral taste. Most people like to use a shorter knife when they're cutting onions, but actually a knife with a longer blade is better for cutting onions because it is more stable and it's easier to cut. When you cut an onion, you should cut the root tip of the onion off to stabilize the onion. When you stabilize the onion, you can now easily cut down the middle of the onion. At this point, you should peel off the excess layer of the onion. You will also want to peel off the first layer of the onion because it is waxy and thicker in texture, which means that it will be harder to cook and break down whenever you're cooking the onions. You can also go ahead and cut off the other root tip. There are 2 ways to cut an onion. The first way is parallel with the root tip. You don't want to cut the onion this way because this technique is used when you want raw onions, such as in a salad. If you were to cut your onion this way, the onion will become mushy and break down when you're cooking. But if you cut it perpendicular to the root, the onion will not become mushy and hold its shape. So I'm going to start by cutting my onions perpendicular. Before I add my onions to my large skillet in the back, I'm going to measure out 1/4 cup of olive oil. I find that it's better to lean over and look at how much olive oil you add to your cup to ensure you added the exact measurement. Now I'm going to add this olive oil to my large skillet and put the onion and turn the heat to medium. Now I'm ready to add my onions to the skillet. When you're transferring your onions to your pot, you want to use the back of your knife instead of the blade tip because the blade will become more dull if you use the blade. It's okay to use your hands when you're transferring onions because since you're going to cook them down for so long to such a degree temperature, any bacteria that could have been on the onions or on your hands will die. Next, I'm going to coat my onions in the oil. And add in half a teaspoon of salt. If you forget to add your knife in, you can easily shake this salt because kosher salt, since it has such a larger grain, it's easier to roll off. There you go. Thank you. Now you want to cover the pot and reduce the heating to low. You're going to let the onions cook for 7 to 12 minutes until they're soft and translucent. And then after that, you'll add a half a teaspoon of sugar to caramelize your onions. I use coconut sugar instead of regular sugar because coconut sugar is lower on the glycemic index, so it has a lower possibility of raising your blood glucose level and spiking your insulin. Now that you've added your sugar, you will increase the heat to medium high and let them cook for 15 to 20 minutes until they are chocolatey brown in color. The onions will look something similar to this once they're finished. Now that by this time my lentils should be finished. You will want to remove your lentils from the pot by draining the excess water with your strainer and then put them in a large bowl to the side. You can check to see if your lentils are finished by putting a few on a paper towel and pressing down. If the skin falls off like this, that means they're finished. After I've taken my lentils out of the pot, I'm going to wipe it dry so I can reuse that pot. But you should be careful because it will be hot. Okay. Before I add my rice to the mixture, I'm going to rinse my rice with water. Rinsing your rice with water removes the excess starch, which allows the rice to become more fluffy in texture. The starch will have a cloudy color when you're done rinsing it. I use a whisk when I rinse my rice to reduce cross-contamination. Now that I've rinsed my rice, I'll add 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of ground coriander, and 2 tablespoons of cumin to the pot over medium heat. This will cook for about 30 seconds till it becomes dark and fragrant. And then I'll add in my 1 cup of rice and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then I'll stir to combine. At this point, you should then add in 1.5 cups of water and then bring the pot to a boil. Once it has started boiling, reduce the heat to a low setting and then get your lentils from earlier and cover the rice in a layer of lentils. This mixture should cook for 7.5 minutes until all the water is absorbed. There you go. Then you'll want to fluff your mixture with a fork. After you fluff your mixture with the fork, your your raisins should be finished and rehydrated. You'll add your raisin mixture to your onions and combine. And then after you've added your raisin and onion mixture, you will add that mixture to the pot with the rice and lentils.